Hello and welcome to Beyond Top 10 Tennis. My name is Dr. Ashley Morgan Berge and I'm your host. I'm the author of 11 books. I've been a CEO for over 12 years. I'm the founder of a startup set on data privacy that looked on taking the likes of Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram all under one roof. I am an elite performance coach of over 18 years, having worked with athletes throughout Europe, the United States to Australia. Most specifically and succinctly, and I guess why we're all here, is that I am the world's leading scientist on coach and athlete performance. And again, most specifically, I am the world's leading authority when it comes to tennis and optimal performance practices, specifically tied to developing a top 10 ranking. That's right, it's something that we actually never thought was possible until we had the science and the data there just right in front of our faces and just pointing us saying, look, there it is. And you betcha that is what we uncovered, how specifically to develop a top 10 ranking, which is so incredibly exciting. I'm behind theories such as the optimal performance theory, the V by Dr. B to the rule of transference. I've coined terms from the barrier breaker through to the golden rule and a slew of others. As has become common, in each episode, we're going to dive into one of my books, dig a bit deeper, delve a bit further, and share additional insights on what it really takes to develop a top 10 ranking. We've been focusing on the secrets to optimal performance success, a comprehensive discussion on developing elite coaches and players. And today's episode may be a little bit controversial, but I really hope it delivers and shares, I guess, that those additional insights and draws more clarity to those underlying questions you may have, or there's a good chance you may have them in the future, and to really enjoy today's episodes. And I hope you walk away with some really, I guess, good insights that you can begin to implement into your own training loads to schedule to practices. Buckle in and enjoy the ride. Today's episode is on supplements. Is there a place for them in athlete development? And if you'd like to follow along, we are on page 94 of the Secrets to Optimal Performance Success. Now, as was shared, this is a bit of a controversial topic, I guess, in the loosest terms, because when this book was initially penned now 5, 6, 7 years ago, this new world of supplements was just getting started. And look, a lot has happened over, this time frame. And even though the latest edition of this book was released last year, it's still such a crucial and key topic to discuss that is full of so many misunderstandings, misinterpretations to misinformation, and we really need to talk about it. So, if you are that player or athlete out there, you are that parent, you are that coach, let's have a really healthy discussion around this area. And I think first and foremost, if you are that developmental athlete between, that 8, 9, 10 years of age to the early adolescence, so let's go 16 years or younger, supplements, no, they do not have a place. And there are those, those minor exceptions, and that is for the demographics where you are lacking due to other, I guess, conditions or dietary requirements and needs, which means, for example, and I'm not going to delve into this, no way, too much. It's just for an example. If you are a vegan, for example, you might not be getting enough protein as you require, and so you may be on an iron supplement because you could have been flagged with a deficiency. That is just the most simplest example there. However, if you are, you should be taking those precautions and ensuring you are having adequate protein in your diet, with that the iron, to avoid that. If obviously you are deficient at such an early age, they're red flags to look out for. No athlete should be deficient. If you are looking after yourself and you are able to make those dietary, modifications. And that's where, the discussion around supplements does come in. It's a whole different ball game as you do get older and you make those choices, which diet you require and want to follow. When you are younger, sometimes you don't have a choice. If you are born with, an underlying condition, specific dietary requirements, that's different. That is not what we're talking about here. So we'll set the baseline that you are predominantly a healthy individual that is partaking in sport, and let's say for this sake it is tennis, with that primary objective of developing into a professional athlete, and long term that top 10 ranking. That is what we are here about with Beyond Top 10 Tennis, but it's beyond because it's so much more. We're not just here talking about rankings and that long game and that pathway. It really has to do with the offshoots there, because we are all individual, which also means we are all human. And again, we take that humanized approach, because irrespective if you are that player or athlete, at the end of the day, you are still that individual and you are still human. Now, in our previous episodes, we looked at balance, and the balance between that athlete, player self, that identity there, and your individual, that your humanized self, is that there is a distinction there, but at the end of the day, you are still that one person with, a different, purpose in one area that you're working towards those goals, but there's still so much more to you. Although that's previous episode. Today's episode, when we're looking at supplements, it's about, there's so much misrepresentation there, and also the information that's out there. And it's really up to you to educate yourself and to get equipped with the right sources, the right data, the right science, opposed to those opinions that are out there. And look, there's probably 99 opinions to every, that one factual a piece of information. And I think that is being incredibly generous. It's probably something like, 10,000 opinions to that one piece of data or factual information. So please be careful, especially for the adults in the room. So the coaches, the parents and the guardians, to be incredibly cautious. But if you are that player or athlete and the discussion comes up to broach, supplements, that is, it's so integral to look at your own nutrition. When you are younger, you can get away with a lot, but you can also set some really good patterns as well. So please try your best not to get sucked into that misinformation. There is a lot out there. Quite simply though, when we look at, supplements and the entire spectrum that it encompasses, 99% of the time, and again, we're going back to the healthy athlete without those deficiencies. And even though if there are deficiencies, typically they can be accommodated by increasing, a certain a food group, if you like, in your overall diet. And we use the word diet here, interchangeable with nutrition. not with any other, means, shape or form, because in no way, shape or form should an athlete ever be on a diet. Or a person, you can modify your nutritional intake to what your body needs. And if we can set the dialogue and the discussion around nutrition and what your body needs, it's a whole other playing field, and we get to talk about nutrition in such a healthy context. So supplements, if you are encouraged to take one, first and foremost, look at what you are eating. Are you eating enough fruits and vegetables, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, for example, just in the most simplest context? What does your day-to-day nutritional intake look like? And only once you have mastered that, if you are still deficient, that's different. When you get to that elite playing field and you are modifying your diet to accommodate all those nutritional needs, only then does the world of supplements begin to shine, a greater light if and or when necessary, and if every page obviously has been turned when it comes to, the natural means of being able to feed your body with what's available. Okay, so if you are following along, again, we are on page 94. Let's be honest, nutrition is confusing because of the overcomplication and unawareness of how nutrition affects performance in general, let alone athletes. There is reason to believe that maybe supplements do have a place in athlete development. And this comes about because of, as we have grown and progressed over the last 10, 15 years, we obviously have social media out there, and every next person is an expert, especially when it comes to health and fitness. There is a bit of sarcasm there, because irrespective of that person's physique, their background in that respect, they could look absolutely phenomenal. That does not mean you should follow those trends or those patterns. And we do see that a lot, which is incredibly alarming. It's incredibly important to look for that skill set there if you are going down that path. However, again, to what I just touched on, and ask yourself, only if you have turned over every leaf, every page when it comes to modifying your nutritional intake to meet the demands that you require, if you are increasing those carbohydrates, those fats, that protein, or you have adequate supply of those fruits and vegetables, taking the most simplistic approach here. Once you have accommodated that and included that into your day-to-day nutrition, only then, if you are deficient, do you look to see, a nutritional professional, someone that, has those tertiary qualifications, who can look at a personalized program with you that does not necessarily entail taking those supplements, but can look at, those different requirements you may or may not need. Let me stop right there. If you are giving supplements to your junior players, you are doing them more harm than good. So stop. Please stop it. Why am I asking you to stop? First and foremost, education is the key. On this basis, it is, or should be, common knowledge for anyone in the sporting sector that if a player or athlete is encouraged to use supplements, the coach should ask themselves, as well as the player and parent, why does this player genuinely need this supplement? Followed by, why isn't this player's food intake simply increased to a higher concentration of vitamins and minerals that are lacking? Think fruit and vegetables in their general nutrition. This is so important. Vitamins, minerals, they are in your fruits and vegetables. So before you go grabbing those off-the-shelf supplements, ask yourself, have you been increasing where you are lacking? And we are talking off the shelf, things that, that are at your supermarket that are fresh and wholesome. Are you accommodating them, including them in your day-to-day dietary needs? And we see that a lot of athletes are not, or the ones that are looking, I guess, into supplements. And unfortunately, again, I think the current adult generation, we have been, I guess, privy to, in not the most fortunate way, supplements are saturated. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it is fed by that lack of information. Vitamins and minerals are the key ones that you require in your fruits and vegetables. It is fundamental and so key to start there. Only if you have started there and you still find yourself deficient, only then will you go and see a professional in that space. It's specifically in that space, obviously with the required qualifications and the blood work done that shows that you are deficient, as well as, I guess, a history of that you've been able to acquire yourself from tabulating, your emotions, from how you've been feeling, how you've personally felt you are deficient, what you've tried, which means a nutrition diary is key as a starting point, as well as tracking those emotions to how you've noticed, whether it's performance specific, life specific. You could be struggling with your schoolwork, and you are doing everything that you can think of that you've been guided to do as far as those vitamins, minerals, fruits and vegetables are concerned. And if you are still finding yourself, say, tired or confused or not being able to just really put together those thoughts nice and clearly, then obviously please go and see your healthcare professional. That's incredibly important. Again, this today is not about that. It is about the confusion around supplements when you are an otherwise healthy individual. I cannot stress that enough. The baseline here is healthy individual. Otherwise, healthy individual. That is so important. And you are looking at, should I be taking supplements or shouldn't I? And it is a no. It is, if you are otherwise a healthy individual, you need to first begin with looking at the nutritional intake with your fruit and vegetables. Only then, if you are deficient and require additional something else, that is when you go seek a professional's opinion. Please avoid looking at, that influencer or your favorite player, athlete, whatever they're taking. No, we are talking about a nutritional expert, someone who specializes in nutrition in your field of choice, where you are, and having that discussion with them. This is where it starts and stops. A player's nutrition. Okay, I get it. A lot of coaches, parents, and there's players out there really don't understand nutrition and athlete performance. So if someone recommends something, or if a sporting superstar starts using a product or supplement, then perhaps their player, athlete, child should too. No. Supplements are used when you cannot get enough of something in your diet, when used properly and for the right reasons. And higher performing athletes, i.e. the more elite, take supplements because they are training at rigorous levels at heightened intensities, and nutritionally it becomes hard to stomach and thus to replace everything they need to recover. A proper recovery is essential for optimal performance and cannot be replaced. This is so important, and it reflects everything we've just touched on, from following your favorite athlete. It's not about that. We need to look at that level of intensity to the recovery timeframes as well. We need to look at, are you, filling up to your max? Are you fueling yourself to your max? And only then, if you no longer have the capacity for more, can you look externally. And still, playing with caution here, being incredibly cautious, because again, when we come into the sporting world, we have to be incredibly mindful of what is and is not allowed, and that opens up a whole other can of worms, so to speak, and it is an incredible risk. And that is why you need to be so calculated and careful. And it's really not worth it until you have exhausted all those other options, when it really starts, in the fresh foods section of your local supermarket. And making sure that you are adequately fueling yourself to begin with, and that you are getting enough of what you really do require. And also, recovery is so often overlooked. It is fundamental. And when you are that adolescent evolving athlete, and also training, most days of the week, you have events, tournaments, gameplay, most weekends, and you need to factor this into your periodization, is those recovery periods, because it directly feeds back to your fuel and your nutrition. If your nutrition is not up there, if you're not ingesting enough fuel, then you simply do not have the energy. And that is a topic that I absolutely love talking about, is that energy to recovery ratio. And just a fun side note is that my background not only obviously has been as that player and also a highly accomplished coach, it's also that I transitioned from, player in tennis to the athlete when it came to ultra running, and I competed and have competed and in ultra marathons. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, we're talking up to that distance at 80 to 100 kilometer events, which is crazy and it's wild. By no means am I crossing the finish line in first place. No, I do it for fun. Though what it takes to get to that level is being so conscious with your energy and your recovery. And energy fuel here is interchanged. And the lessons that I've learned, and also with the science, is that that energy and fuel is absolutely fundamental, but so is recovery. Recovery is just as important, which means you really need to look at, are you resting enough? Are you taking enough days off? Are you giving your body enough time to rest? And I cannot tell you how many parents I have spoken to and dealt with over the years who share with me how their players, their children are struggling to cope with set training loads. And it's often just as simple as, have they rested? Have they taken time off? And too often, it's a no. When you have that child, that player, that athlete training throughout Monday to Fridays, and then they're playing tournaments on Saturday and often most of the time Sunday as well. No, you need time off. Or you could be training and just have weekends off. And you know what? Sometimes 2 days, it's just not enough. Because it's not, come on, let's be honest. For an adolescent, they're not sitting in their room, for 48 hours over the weekend. They're active and they're engaging and they're out and about more often than not. And especially if they do fall somewhere in this sporting spectrum, that they are athletic. They are incredibly dynamic in that respect. And which means they are constantly burning up fuel, and they likewise have to be conscious that they're getting enough. It's not about saying, no, you can't have this or this or this. No, that's not what it's about. You're allowed to have fun still, please still have fun, please. The conversation is about having enough, and also making sure you are having enough of also the right type of energy that your body needs to recover, but also continue along with that set training load, which is incredibly important. Obviously, if you're filling yourself up with just sugar and fats, that is not adequate for an optimal performance. If you cannot see the irony there, then you need to re-educate yourself, or continue, please, to educate yourself around this. If your diet purely consists of carbohydrates, that's not enough. If you are, neglecting that protein, it's not enough. There is a very healthy balance there, and depending what level you're at, no, you don't need to get too serious yet. You just need to make sure that you are ingesting the right levels of energy tied with that ratio with recovery. Obviously, the more advanced you get, the more elite you get, you really need to be incredibly mindful of these ratios, which means if you are that 16, 17, 18-year-old, further progressing, you are following the long game, the pathway, and you are verging towards, let's say top 700 in the world, please do pay attention to your nutrition and your recovery. You're verging on top 200 in the world, please do, because the patterns that you begin to implement into your lifestyle now, you're setting the foundations for the future and you're setting yourself up for success. If, however, you want to verge on the top 100 and you are eating hamburgers every second meal, if you are not having those vitamins and minerals through your general nutrition, through those fruits and vegetables, no, you are setting yourself up for failure. You could be an incredible player with just an incredible talent. You put in the work day in, day out, but if your nutrition is not on par, you know what? You're probably going to wonder why those results are not paired with your performance just consistently, because sooner or later that ratio it's going to pull you back and it's going to pull you back down. And we're here to prevent that, to mitigate that, to push you forward, to continue on that rate of progress. Now, if you want to not only adopt that rate of progress to ensure it's continuous, we need to continuously maintain not only that level of performance, but that level of nutrition that works with your recovery. So ensuring you have enough energy to perform at a set level that also delivers that set optimal performance outcome. So we know that it's all tied together, and it's fundamental for the parents, the players, the athletes, the coaches, to better understand and grasp how everything is interrelated. It's correlated directly when we're looking at that top 100, top 50, verging on the top 20 towards the top 10. We're building the foundation. And no, we don't build the foundation when you're top 50 in the world. We build the foundation now. And we say that because you can get to top 50, and if your foundation is not in place, you're going to have to almost scrap it all back, start again, build that foundation. And we know that once you begin to progress, there is a trajectory there where you continuously ascend because you're following the pathway, the long game is in action, and that rate of progress is continuous. However, if you're not putting the work in, which includes your nutrition, your energy intake, your level of recovery, and being mindful of this continuous cycle, that we know delivers optimal performance outcomes. However, if you're ignoring that, if you think, no, I'm going to wait, you're setting yourself up for more hard work, and it's so much easier. But also, when you set the foundation, it sets yourself up not only for success, but it prevents also the developing an injury. Now, we also know from the work that, your level of energy and being conscious and cautious of that, if you are not, you're also at a greater risk of developing an injury. And irrespective, I guess, from what angle you come from, is that injuries can happen in different ways, shapes, forms, etc. Though if you are not as healthy as I guess you ideally should be and or could be, you are compromising your immune system to begin with. And when you are under stress, which happens when you're pushing boundaries, you're continuously increasing that training load, working towards that peak performance to, yes, deliver those optimal performance outcomes. Now, your body is continuously under a set level of stress, albeit controlled. Though irrespective, if you do not have that those adequate energy levels that is consciously looked after with that responsibility around your nutritional intake, you are putting yourself at a greater risk of developing that injury as well. So that we do know that there are direct correlations there. And, at the end of the day, we started talking about supplements and look at the trajectory we can go on. Now, if we take that responsibility of being incredibly mindful of just starting at a baseline where it really counts, being really simple and conscious of, do I need this? Am I, getting my intake from the respective food groups? Just really simple here. And that's where we start, opposed to ignoring it altogether. I mean, look, I was speaking with an athlete a couple of months ago now, and this player had the ambition of, getting their first ranking points on the ATP tour, and he was on his way. Though when I looked at his nutrition, just quietly, and I saw him eating a sausage roll, and then he was about to head out on court. And obviously, I think to myself, where are the vitamins and minerals there? There was zero health benefits to what he was ingesting. And given that if you were not training and it was, let's say your cheat day, I won't go into that. You can look those details up further. Fine. But if you are in that training cycle, and this player was in this case, that just goes to show that you have not developed that baseline, you have not developed that sound level of nutrition, or that nutritional intake that correlates with, the energy that you need in that right form to aid your performance. Because there is a direct, again, correlation there. And we could go really, get into the nitty gritty of that, but that's not what today is about. It's really about having that discussion around, do you need a supplement to begin with? But ask yourself, the initial baseline is it there? Have I put the work in to set myself up for success? Do I have enough greens on my plate? Am I ingesting enough protein? Do I have enough carbohydrates I am ingesting on a day-to-day basis? So please, set your foundations up. We're not getting into the foundations, okay? The parents out there, the coaches out there, they're there to inform you, but also go to your local supermarket and see, what's there. Deep down, each and every one of us knows. If you don't, please send in those questions and I will shoot you different resources where you can get that. Though we're keeping today super simple. Begin having that discussion with your parent and your coach as well. Both, the more the merrier about that. And you know what? It's also so fundamental that the parents out there, the guardians and the coaches are leading by example, which means if you are a coach, please behave as far as your energy and nutrition is concerned, to lead by example for your players and athletes. I cannot tell you how many coaches I come across who do the exact opposite. And when I say that, 99% of coaches out there do not look after their nutrition nor lead by example. And if you are a coach listening, I really hope you're in that 1% with me. I really do. But if you're not, it's never too late. When you don't have to obviously concern about peaking and reaching that optimal performance, but you are a role model for your athlete and your players, and it makes it so much easier. You are that resource for them to tap into, to learn about their energy levels, their fuel, their recovery, and what it really takes to develop those optimal performance outcomes. Sure, you're listening here. Sure, AMA International has the resources. Sure, please do come on over. But right now, it starts with you. It starts with that triangular relationship when we're talking about with the parent, the guardian, then the coach and the player athlete, and how everything ties together. Please lead by example. And the same goes for the parents out there. the parents, please, obviously, if your child is, 12 years old, I really hope that you're encouraging them and teaching them as well what their nutritional intake looks like or what it needs to include as far as those vitamins and minerals are concerned, to that natural food intakes, from the fruits, the vegetables, the protein, to the carbohydrates, to the fats. Please be mindful of that. Lead by example. It's so fundamental. For the athletes out there who are, that 17, 18, 19, you're old enough to put in the work, to turn the pages, to learn more. Sure, this is a starting point. You're listening, excellent, exceptional. So you know where to look. If you're not sure, ask the questions. The resources are out there, but it's not hard. One of my books, and I'll make sure it's included in the bio, is The Secrets to Optimal Wellbeing, which really sets the foundation to develop that baseline for that healthy nutrition. And it has been designed for coaches and parents as well. It's not specifically designed, ironically, for the players and athletes out there. It is designed to develop a baseline, your simplest baseline that you get to build upon with your respective energy requirements, and to work that into your recovery. Okay, this is getting a lot, and it's just such an important topic to go over. So I will leave, I guess, those resources in the bio. But to wrap up today's episode, really ask yourself, what does the word supplement mean to you? Why do you need it? Why do you think you could possibly need a supplement? And are you looking at your own energy requirements, your own recovery levels and expectations and demands? Are you putting in the work? Are you taking your energy and recovery and the ratio there serious enough? And if you are doing the work, then let's get serious about having that conversation, re-educating ourselves of what it requires, and digging deeper into the secrets to optimal well-being. Pair it with the secrets to optimal performance success and the discussion around supplements, and you're setting yourself up for the long game, optimal performance practices, and that top 10 ranking. Thank you so much for joining us today. To grab a copy of The Secrets to Optimal Performance Success, please head on over to AM8, the am8international.com. The two books in question, obviously, are The Secrets to Optimal Performance Success, and as touched on just previously, was The Secrets to Optimal Wellbeing. If you're not sure, you're after an additional resource to set that baseline as far as your nutrition is concerned. For any comments or questions, again, please head on over to AM8 or Topic Thread. That is topicthread.com. It is the only social network that I am on. And again, if you'd like something different, something fresh, and yeah, I will stress again, different, head on over to Pink Octopus Books. That's where my fictional release actually is, and I will leave all the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, follow, like, would be absolutely phenomenal. Same goes for our social platforms that we've now released snippets on, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, to Instagram, to even, the Google business pages. Please check them out. And feedback is incredibly welcome, but also share amongst yourselves, to your friends, to your family, to your peers. Go ahead, and again, we'd love to engage with you, hear from you, and let us know how you are going. And also, you're listening, have a look at the questions, because each episode we pop in those questions, and I read them. I really do, because I really do care about learning about your thoughts and, those additional insights that you might have for me. And then we get to consider them and talk about them in episodes to come. That was a lot. Okay, I'm going to wrap today up on that note. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Dr. Ashley Morgan Berge, and this is Beyond Top 10 Tennis. And I'll see you next time.